Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Gregolicious. You know how we do, cause you know we keeping it gangster and silly. Unplugged like a full swung titty. Bout get jitty, cause you know we down to the nitty and the gritty. And we make shit sound so damn pretty. Yeah, cause this unhinged comedy. And right now you're in the mix, so get ready, cause we bout to get it poppin'. And we ain't stopping.
Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again. Uneducated, unfiltered, unhinged. This the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again. Yeah, we at it again.
Hello and welcome to the Mangina Dialogues. I am your host, Nick Scopes.
And I'm the Gregolicious.
And today we have Kyle from String Cheese Incident. What's up, my man?
How are you guys doing today?
We're doing okay, man. I got to tell you, every time we've had a lot of musicians on lately, and every time we have to play that song for them, I die a little inside.
No, I thought that was pretty cool. I liked it.
You enjoyed it? Good. Awesome. Good. We're off to a good start.
What would you say if you heard that was composed by puppets?
I feel like we do this every time.
Dude, there's some badass puppets.
That's some badass puppets. I take my puppet work seriously. Anyways, how are you doing?
Good here in Colorado. Just waiting for the snow to fall here. It's threatening. I'm seeing it over in the mountains there, but it's good. The winter's been good.
Yeah, we're seeing some threats of snow out here.
It's about
outside
20 degrees
New York City,
right now.
but it's not the same as your snow. We might get a dusting.
Yeah.
Right.
Use it with a broom.
Where in Colorado are you?
In Boulder, Denver area.
That's awesome. I've heard great things. Never been, but I've heard amazing things about it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful here, and and there's so much sky. I just don't want too many people to figure it out. Like in summer, in the winter time, it can be like 65, and you can be biking, but the snow. But then the next day, you can have 2 feet of snow. But
You know, it's kind of funny actually about Denver and Boulder. Like, I don't see that has had the same, like, where people are moving in droves like they are to like Austin, Texas or Portland.
Right.
It seems to be this hidden secret, yet probably the coolest of all of those places.
Yeah, we definitely have some population coming in, but not as much as elsewhere. Sure. I was just in San Diego with the kids last week, and I was like, man, this is a great town. We had a lot of fun. It was warm, 75 degrees. Picking up sand dollars in the ocean. It was really fun. Yeah,
San Diego is killer. I only get there for Comic-Con, and it's the worst time ever.
Right.
Like the worst. So a bunch of stuff we want to talk to you about. First is you have an EP coming out.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I do. Thanks for reminding me. I think I've had 3 full albums out, and I just wanted to release something for this short break that String Cheese is taking, and we're taking about 6 months off. So I just threw together 4 or 5 tunes and calling it 2020, and some are kind of Emerson, Lake and Palmer-esque, almost like Boston, kind of like Hammond organ based stuff, and some other stuff. It's this funky Kyle things you get used to from my world, but I'm excited at least to be putting out new material. It makes me feel like I'm being productive.
Yeah, right. I mean, it sounds pretty awesome. So when I was going to ask you, like, what's the big differences between your solo projects and what you do with String Cheese? Is it just more heavily based in your instrument, like more organ work and piano and all of that?
Yeah, I think so. And I write in a lot of different styles. Like last album, I did like a Vampire Weekend type song. That then I did like a Beck type thing. And when I bring that stuff to String Cheese, there's no reference. Like no one in the band listens to the same music I do.
Right.
And I get influenced by different music, and I'm like, I want to try to emulate this or kind of go down this production road with this song and see if it would be cooler. I think with String Cheese, sometimes it's the 5 or 6 headed monster that kind of you get killed by discussion or by decision or by committee, I guess it'd be better said. And when you run by yourself, you're like, this is the way it's going to be, and that's the part you're going to play. And then everybody in the band's like, okay. And it's just fun to have the wheel sometimes. It's the hands on the wheel and kind of controlling the ship and the car.
On your solo records, have you? Is it the same band, or are you bringing in different musicians for each song, each record?
It's always the same band. At least for the last 5-6 years, it's been the same band for the last 2 albums. But yeah, with outside of that, I'll bring in like horn players or singers or whoever, a special guest. But with Cheese, it's always fun because we go in there, and one of us will bring an idea that is maybe not even fully completed yet. But that's one advantage of all of us working together, like at String Cheese. We can kind of create songs on the spot. And that makes it almost, in some ways, more fun because, like, my solo stuff is fun, but I have to kind of come in and be like, this is what's going to happen. But String Cheese is more of a brotherhood that way.
Interesting. The one question I needed to get out was, I'm lactose intolerant, so I've had a ton of string cheese incidents in my life.
Exactly.
How'd you guys come up with that name?
Right, I knew you were going to ask that.
I need to know. I just need to.
That's one of our profiles. We're never allowed to talk to about anybody about what our name is. I can say my excuse is I've only been in the band. I'm one of the newer guys.
Okay.
I've only been in the band for about 24 years. So
only 24 years.
24 years. So once they say when I get there 25 years, they're going to bless me with the knowledge.
You got 6 months.
Yeah.
The sacredness of cheese. I'm going through a section right here. I might lose you for 40 seconds, but I'm letting you know.
Okay. That's all right. Forced me to talk to Greg more, which sucks.
But you must. I mean, obviously, you guys get that question. I'm sure every single interview at least once.
We do get that often. Although our publicist says, don't ask that question. I guess it'd be cool to know other people's names. Where's widespread panic come from? Or fish, or cake. Well, I think what it was is like there was a big naming of food era. Leftover salmon, cake,
disco biscuits.
Disco biscuits, right? That era's kind of gone plain.
Now it's going more to like birds. So you have goose and pigeons playing ping pong. I'm sure there's 10 other ones that are fowl related. They have
like a governing body of all these jam bands that get together and decide.
Exactly. It's officially changed.
That's a good idea. Governing body of jam bands.
I just see like
probably jam base committee over there.
All I see is like the Last Supper setup, except there's like a picture of Jerry Garcia in the back, just like chilling.
Right, exactly.
Everyone else is at the table, like
there's definitely a poster of that in a bunch of head shops across country.
Oh,
right. I'm sure there's got to be.
There must be
1,000%.
But you guys,
who's Judas and who the other players?
I don't know enough about the jam bands to know who the Judas would be, I don't know who's like the bad guy in the jam band scene. Everyone seems pretty chill and laid back.
We'll put it to Jay Blakesberg to come up with the table setting.
Dude, he would. Oh, that would be good. I think we just came up with a cool idea.
It's his next book.
Yeah, his next coffee table.
But
book.
you must tell people some crazy stories though, like when you're aggravated and you've heard it a million times.
As far as the name,
yeah.
There's always a story. Everybody has their own, so. I'm staying with mine.
Yeah.
Billy has his own story.
Yeah, I'm sure. That'd be a good coffee table book. How did you get the name for your solo band?
Right? Boy, kind of Hollingsworth band. That's not very terribly clever.
Did you flip a coin?
I'm really into. I'm really into palindromes, and so my first band was Remarkable Elbow Kramer. Which is the same spelled forward as it is spelled backwards. And so for me, I was like, this is great, great. And then everybody's like, who's Elbow Kramer? And why is it remarkable? And it's so hard to put it on posters. And then I said, okay, how is this Kyle Hollingsworth? Okay, we know that person.
Yeah, that makes sense. I figured it had to be something like that.
Yeah.
just kidding. So what, like when you're going out on tour as yourself, right? Like not as yourself, but at your band.
Disguised as yourself, man.
So when you guys do your festival, you're also playing that as your solo band.
Yeah,
right?
We have a lot of festivals. Yep, but yeah. When I can get in, I try to get in on those festivals as well with KHB.
So what do you see any differences between your audience for one to the other? Or obviously it's I'm sure an enormous crossover.
That's the thing. It's funny because Travis has a band with who's our drummer, and Jason, our percussion player, and they have a band called Yodo.
Yep.
And they're more electronic, so almost dubstep at times. And the fans would go see them. All the String Cheese fans would go, "Oh, we love String Cheese. We'll go see him." And then, oh my God, they were like crying in the corner, like, "No, this is not what I'm used to. It's scaring me. I'm at low end." And so eventually they worked through kind of not having String Cheese fans anymore. Now they've established their own fan base. And for me, it's challenging because I kind of bring some music from String Cheese. I've written a lot for String Cheese, and I bring some of that to my solo project, or I write in a similar style. So I'm not able to really cross over that much outside the jam scene,
right,
as much as I'd like to. I did open for Humphreys McGee there's a friend of mine, and we opened for them at the Fillmore, and I tailored my set to be a little bit more
funky
prog rock.
Right.
we did like YYZ by Rush, and I'd be, Kurt died like the next day or something. But and so I think we got a little bit of a crossover there. We'll see.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So also the other thing I want to know, like personally, you're a big beer guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about beer.
Sure.
Nick's making faces at me because I'm doing my best to get him into craft beers, and he actually is slowly coming along.
Yeah, slowly.
But like, it really intrigues me, as I wasn't into craft beer until like 2 years ago. My cousin opened up a craft beer bar by where we live. So
nice.
I was always anti like IPA, like for the same reasons like people are IPAs, hipsters, whatever. But then once I got into it, I'm like, this is the best shit ever. Right. And now
right.
I've gone through this obsession. So I love just talking to other people about their obsession with beer and how you got into brewing.
Well, I've been home brewing for a long time. I'm 50 years old, and I started when I was like 18 or something. My brother was home brewing. It might have been like 16. My brother was home brewing first, and everything my brother did was cool. He home brewed. I loved that. It was cool. He saw the Grateful Dead. So I went to see them. He smoked pot, so I ended up smoking pot. And so I was like, brewing's awesome. And what I liked about it was how you put all these different ingredients together and then make something completely different. And how you can experiment with once you get it under your fingers, especially kind of the process, you can start experimenting, maybe some weird tea leaves or something strange. And then sometimes it's great and sometimes it's awful, but it's part of the process of taking risks, when it's almost like the way I play music, I'd say.
Right.
Once you get it under your fingers, you kind of go out there and improvise. And sometimes it's your best solo you've ever taken, or the worst beer you've ever made, or it's just fun. I just enjoy it. And then, of course, the end product is, especially when it's done well, it's great to drink. I'm a kind of a nerd about really good beer. I have like a fridge full of okay stuff, and I'll be like, I'll drink one, and like, and I'll pour it out, and I'll grab another one, and it's like, I have to go through beer that I don't like.
I'm the same way. I like trying a lot of different stuff, so I'd buy a million different things, and I would, if I opened it and I didn't like it, it's right down the drain. Move
exactly,
on,
right?
on
It's not worth the calories.
Yeah.
It's not worth anything.
It's exactly what I said. Like, this is not worth the calories to drink a shitty beer when I have a fridge full of what I'm sure are 2,500 other good beers.
Right, and then you have to like go through all the beers to find a good one.
Yeah,
right.
There could be worse things to happening. But like, what's your beer of choice? Like, what's your style? Like, or do you just like all styles? Like, when you made yours, you put one out. You put it on an IPA, right?
Yeah, I put out like I've been doing national beers for almost 8 years now, and I've had like 5 or 6 national beers. One with Stone, one with Cigar City, one with Boulder Beer, and they're all in the stores. But my favorite is an IPA. I do definitely homebrew different things, but I default to an IPA, and I think it's just because I'm addicted to hops.
Yeah. What style IPA?
Well, there's the whole Northeastern haze thing is okay. To me, it's getting a little bit overdone. They're all tasting the same. At least when people were doing like the Mandarin Orange or the weird things, like they were kind of weird, but at least they all had different flavors, and if they were done well, it was interesting. But basically, IPAs, all styles. and yeah. Anyway, so I started brewing a while ago, and I made one with Stone called Collective Distortion. It was me and Carrie, who plays guitar with Alice Cooper. She was Alice Cooper, guitar player, and I got together and flew out to California to brew with Stone Brewing Company, and it was badass. And we had a huge jam session with like everybody in the brew room, like the head brewer, the owner was there, Greg, and he was playing guitar, and all the bottling guys thought they could play drums, and then all the guys who take the beer around were bass players, and we had like 18 or 20 people jamming, and we made the beer afterwards. It was really fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to brew. I did it one time, and it was like the world's worst chemistry experiment.
Exactly.
I mean, it couldn't have come out worse, and I was so disappointed.
Right,
and I've given it up. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy beer from now on.
Then his mom kicked him out of her house. So
actually, a girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, in the early days, my mom would hated it because I would do it on our stove, and then it would spill because you have all the sticky, sugar juice boiling over all over the place onto the floor, and then you got to fill up the bottles when you're done, and then it gets all over the floor. And yeah, it was a nightmare.
The beer thing's interesting. I have been coming around. I've been hanging out with Greg more, unfortunately, and he's been taking me to all these spots. Like, because my experience with beer, I never liked beer itself, and my experience was just in college. You get Bud Light, which is awful, and Natty Light, whatever's the cheapest thing, and then these things started coming out with like raspberry flavored. I like beer that doesn't taste like beer. You know what I mean? Like if it's raspberry,
right.
There's Two Roads made one that tastes like coffee. Oh my god! See, I'm all about that, right. But like exactly. The initial stuff, they've been making some great stuff, but like just beer itself, I'm not a fan of. More of a tequila guy, but I'm coming around.
Is like, because out here, obviously, we're in the Northeast, so the Northeastern IPA is obviously everywhere. That's all anyone out here is making now, right?
Right.
But when I'm on the West Coast a lot, it's, the West Coast IPAs are much, much different. Obviously not the same taste palette or anything really. But you said that's obviously taken over by where you are too. Is that kind of the thing out that way?
It is. It's everywhere. It started, with all the hype. I think it was Treehouse or some of the ones in Vermont and those places, and then people would wait out in line, and then we heard about it out here that people were waiting in line for this great beer, and some people would like smuggle it in, and then finally breweries realized there's a market for it, and it's kind of, if it's done well, it's awesome, but they all kind of taste the same now. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I do like it because it's it's citrusy, and I like that, but I mean, I like anything. The only type of beer I really don't like are the Belgians and farmhouse ales. Like, it's just not really. I could drink them, it's just not my thing.
With string cheese, I brewed a lot with other people, and then I wanted to make a beer for it was string cheese's 25th anniversary. This year, I guess last year, ended in December, and so I made a beer with Oscar Blues, and we went for a brut style, which is kind of a drier body taste. It almost has like a lager kind of taste in your mouth, but it's still hoppy, and it came out really well. I was really psyched with it. Sometimes they're a little too light because they're like 7.6%, and you don't know. You drink like two of them, and you're just wasted.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
I went to Bissell Brothers in Maine over the summer, and they had it was like a hoppy Pilsner, right? So it was very much. I mean, if you put it in a glass next to a citrusy IPA, you would think it was the same thing looking at it. But then when you looked at the alcohol in it, the Pilsner was like 3.5%.
Right.
It was like the most crushable beer ever. But it was pretty good. Anyway, I could talk about beer all day and bore Nick into a coma.
Yeah, shut up, man. God.
Okay, let's talk about music now.
No, I'm just kidding.
So you mentioned last year you wrote a song with Robert Hunter. So, I mean, obviously Robert just recently passed. So how did that come about, and what was that experience like?
In the first, I think, 10 years of string cheese, we were definitely brought into the fold of the West Coast group there. I guess that kind of the Grateful Dead style, and I felt like we wanted that. Like, we play in a similar style with lots of bass open jams versus I think there's like an East versus West, like a gangster thing. Like East Coast has more like Fitz, like a Dumfries would be kind of like this that side. It's more edgy. Mo, they're kind of edgy, and then the West Coast is more kind of like flowers and hippies and daisies. And so our vibe was more that. So we kind of got in there. And we started hanging out with Bob Weir and those people over there, Mickey Hart. And so because of that connection, Barlow would come a lot to our shows and Mountain Girl. And so they started kind of spreading the word in their community from like the big Merry Pranksters world.
Right.
That we were kind of the new Grateful Dead style bands, 10 years ago or something. And so then all of a sudden, Robert Hunter was reaching out to us and being like, well, we'd love to write with you guys, or do the next thing in our scene. And so then no one in the band was ready to jump in. And I said, I got a couple songs, let's do it. And it was, very virtual, like it was email based, maybe a phone call. And, it was a phone call. And then I sent him the music, and then he sent me back the lyrics, and he said, okay, at 23 seconds, say these words. At a minute and 2 seconds, like it was very specific, like how he wanted. I couldn't really do it myself. He's like, no, I want you to sing it like this. And I was like, maybe this word could be changed. And he's like, no, that word can't be changed. That word is going to be that word. And I was like, okay. It's not, it's more of a co-write in the fact that like I'm writing the music and you're writing the lyrics. It isn't like we can work on things together. So it was cool, and it turned out to be a really great song actually. But that was my story.
But you guys never in the same room. This was all
never in the same room. I was wondering whether we saw. There might have been a Berkeley show. We played Greek in Berkeley. I think he was backstage, and I said hello to him then. But it wasn't like hanging out and sitting in a room and writing songs together.
So what did he think of the final product?
He loved it. He's totally. And there's a whole middle section that sounds like Phil Lesh moments. So he's like, I like that middle part.
Wow.
But Barlow did a lot of writing with Kang. John Barlow with Bob Weir, and he also passed recently too. Mm-hmm. So he was a lot more like backstage, hanging out with us, trying to write with whoever wanted to. He was a really great soul.
So when in the 90s, right? And you came in the band in 96, 95-ish?
90. I think the band started in 96. I joined in 98, or they started in a year and a half.
Got it. So did you guys play a lot in New York City in the early days?
We did. It was the Wetlands at that point.
Yep.
And we had an old ski bus from Krafty, Colorado that had like Aspen leaves on the end, all around it, and had these ski tubes on the outside. Took out all the seats, put in beds, and we drive that through New York City. It was a total freak show. We'd be driving to New York City with these weird orange tubes and like flowers all over. And they're like, what? This is the 90s. Sublime's on the radio.
Yeah, right.
And we pull up to the Wetlands, and it was great. It was fun.
I mean, I asked because I lived in New York City at the time, and obviously seeing a ton of bands and things. And I just remember walking the streets wherever I was, and I would just come across a String Cheese Incident poster or like piece of paper on a lamppost, right? And that happened for a long time. And after, I was a huge Deadhead, right? And I was in the Jerry camp. So after Jerry died, I sort of took a hiatus, right, from the music and the whole scene and stuff. And then what brought me back was you guys, truly. And
nice.
I started like seeing these signs all of a sudden. I'm like, what the hell is a String Cheese Incident? Like, what
exactly.
is this?
What the hell is stupid
right?
name?
And I used to go to Wetlands all the time. I've seen you name it, who came through there in that time frame. I've seen them, and Dave Matthews, Blues Traveler. everybody. And
you saw the Spin Doctors. That was a fucking great. Great live album.
Of course, Spin Doctors. Probably 20 times I saw them there, and I'm like, what the hell is this String Cheese Incident stuff? And then finally one day I was like, that's a band. Right? Like, they're playing all these places that I go to. I got to go check these guys out. And then when Carnival came out, like, that was on my rotation, like that live record for, I cannot even tell you how many times I spun that in my car. And the one song that really sticks out to me, which is a cover, is Hey Pocky Way, right?
Nice.
I listened to that I can't even tell you how many times, because that song reminded me very much of the way the Dead played that song, specifically Brent, though.
I forgot that they did that song.
Yeah, I mean that was a big part of their set list during the Brent years, right? And those are the years when I started going on tour with the Dead. It was in '85 through. And my best years were the Brent years, right? So they played that song a lot in that time frame. And when I started hearing that song and I started thinking back to as many times I've heard Brent do that song, I mean, it really brought me back, and it's why I sort of came back into the whole jam band scene, because I just could not stop listening to that. So you should check it out if you don't if you didn't know they played that song. Check that out on some of the.
Well, I was there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
My first show was '85 too. So what was it? It was East Coast outside in DC. Is it RFK or JFK? It was Bob Dylan, Grateful Dead, and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, that was maybe that was '87. That was the Dead and the Dylan and the Dead shows, because I saw that too.
Maybe, yeah,
in Giant Stadium in July of
Giant Stadium. Okay.
Yeah.
Because then I saw him at the Greek in Berkeley right when Touch of Grey came out. When was that? Like that day? Was it '86?
Yeah. That might have been '87 when In the Dark came out.
But anyway, so yes, and the funny story. I know I'm getting old because, like, it was a guy Corey from. I was going to say Vampire Weekend. No, Corey played. Help me out. Corey Wong, you know him?
Do I know this.
I'll think of it. Wolfpack.
Yeah. Right. Duh. I was going to say my kid loves that song. My kid's a guitar player, and that's like one of his favorite songs.
And he came up and said, "Oh yeah, I loved you guys. Because I used to listen to Carnival and I heard of '99 all the time in high school." I'm like, this guy here, this like incredible musician who's like used to listen to us. Really, that's really bizarre. But all right, thank you so much.
That's a good band. Wolfpack, my son turned me on to them. He's 16, so now I'm getting his stuff. But thankfully, he's into my stuff, which is all good.
Nice. Good.
So we're kind of coming up on time.
Okay.
So is there anything like you want to make sure we hit and cover in the next few minutes, or? We talked about the EP. Obviously, String Cheese has their stuff kicking in about 6 months in like July, right? Like June, July.
Yeah, we can talk a second about the break and when we're coming back on. I have maybe some KHB dates that are coming up.
Right. So we'll put all that in the listing with your website, the dates, and all of those things, so people can make sure that they check it out. Obviously, see you on your solo stuff wherever they can, and of course, String Cheese. Nick will try to stay on his lactose medications.
Yeah.
But we really thank you for your time. This was fun.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Thrilled to talk to you guys, and obviously big fan of the genre and you guys.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh yeah, no, please. And we will certainly be in touch when this goes out, which will be probably next Sunday. If not sooner. And really, that's it from us. We really appreciate it and want to thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Sure, I'm going to jump back in and start continuing mixing. I have to get 2 more songs out today. So
good luck. We will not interrupt you.
Yeah,
but we are going to make you. We're going to make you listen to the outro.
I will actually. I would love to hear the outro. Play it.
It's the same thing as the intro.
Oh,
he's like, oh god damn it, time to go.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Yeah, have a good day.
This is the Mangina Dialogues. We at it again with your host Nick Scopes and the Guegolicious. You know how we do.